It's time for John Coggeshall, and pardon me for all seeking pardons. Parole, clemency, inmates deserving, who could be serving too much time for what they did. It's time for John Coggeshall, and pardon me for all seeking mercy, a chance to be free. We'll be learning.
Hi everybody, it's John Coggeshall. Everybody calls me Cog, and this is my CogCast. And today, I'd like to talk about a deserving pardon petitioner named David McKinney. I'm going to read to you his letter to the governor asking for clemency. And he writes, "Dear Honorable Governor, when I learned that former Governor Terry McAuliffe had granted a conditional pardon to my co-defendant, Adrian Earl Davis, January 12, 2018, I felt that a platform had been established for me to assert the existence of an extraordinary circumstance as grounds for executive clemency to be granted in my case as well. I felt that all my failed attempts to convince state and federal courts of the disproportionate nature of my sentence had been vindicated by Governor McAuliffe's rationale for releasing my co-defendant Adrian, when the governor said that Adrian's sentence was excessive. If his sentence is considered excessive, then what does that say about mine? It was September 2019 that the Commonwealth Secretary informed me that my petition for clemency was under investigation. So it's probable that the governor and the parole board are aware of the existence of it. I do not believe history should have been altered to suit my desires, that it should have been me instead of Adrian first granted a conditional pardon, or at least both of us as opposed to just one of us. I believe the right time for my repatriation to society is now, not because the previous governor set a precedent for my case by pardoning my co-defendant, or because I was sentenced under such a archaic mandatory minimum statute, or because I was a juvenile at the commission of my crimes of robbing other kids around my age with an unloaded BB gun, but because I strongly believe the public welfare will be better suited by inflicting less than what the original judgment fixed was. The fact is, I don't pose a threat to society as the man I've become. The question is, how do I prove this? How do I distinguish myself from every other prisoner wishing to be granted executive clemency? How do I show you the man I've become? Well, while incarcerated, I pursued academic studies, first earning my GED, then my Paralegal legal assistant diploma, followed by my certificate in the vocational program Business Software Applications. I'm currently working at a collegiate level towards earning an Associate of Arts and Sciences degree in Administration of Justice. I plan to transfer the credits I earn from this degree program towards a bachelor's degree at a 4-year college once I'm released. I help disabled prisoners confined to wheelchairs and impaired mentally by providing round-the-clock caretaking assistance. I was hired by River North Correctional Center in 2016 specifically for that purpose. Currently, given pandemic restrictions, I'm helping other prisoners disadvantaged in their inability to grasp the science of the law by assisting them with legal research. I was carefully selected by Nottoway Correctional Center for this very task. I take pride in being able to assist the DOC in its efforts to rehabilitate its offender population because I have seen firsthand how knowledge of the law can further enlighten offenders about the far-reaching negative consequences of continuing criminal conduct. I have worked hard to strengthen the ties of kinship with my mother, father, 2 older brothers and sisters in the wake of having disappointed them with my youthful mistakes. They all stand behind me, and as I serve my sentence and continue to work on myself, they're all eager for my release, that I may continue to improve our relationships now as the man I've become. I have written books with the sole purpose of disclosing my appreciation for life. I've slowly come to learn that honesty with others is how my character can best be judged, and therefore best be critiqued and consequently adjusted to adapt to an ever-evolving sense of right and wrong. I first wrote a pamphlet in 2003 while housed at Sussex II State Prison for my fellow inmates entitled An Islamic Perspective on Eating Meat in the Penitentiary. I attempted to resolve a dietary law based off of my religious studies at the time. Paul Taylor, a friend of mine who's since been granted parole in 2017, assisted me in handing out these pamphlets. It was a good time. In that same year, I wrote a book of poetry entitled Phenomenal Rhythms. In 2004, I copyrighted 200 poems. And here's an excerpt that I'd like to share with you. I'm not weak. In fact, I'm one of the strongest. But strength doesn't lie within a front to the people I love of nothing but happy faces and reassurances. No, strength lies within me, manifesting my innermost thoughts and feelings to those whom I love, and proving to them that I am able to endure this struggle. My greatest piece of literature to date is a book I completed this year entitled Montage Journal. It is a compilation of the philosophical principles I've developed regarding life and that reinforce my artwork, my montages. I have learned much through my experiences within the Virginia DOC. I have learned that nothing will come to me for free and without self-sacrifice. I learned that I must diligently pursue anything I want before I can expect help from another. And I have learned that before I can expect to understand anything meaningful, I must first have knowledge of it. As a result of this desire to arm myself with knowledge, I have attempted to read every time-tested book I could find that had the greatest impact on human civilization. The Old and New Testament, which taught me the importance of moral laws and the spiritual transformation that results from adhering to them. Crime and Punishment, which helped me resolve many of the philosophical stances criminals adopt to justify their actions. Stances I myself once took to justify my criminal conduct. The Autobiography of Malcolm X, which showed me even the worst of men can reform themselves within the walls of prison to become meaningful contributors to the way a society sees them. Now, I became a model prisoner about 5 years ago. After reviewing my institutional record, one might ask why it took 15 years to manifest a positive change in my conduct as a prisoner. The honest answer is that change doesn't always come overnight. In retrospect, watching myself grow from a child into a man while on a journey that has taken me through many of the precarious circumstances that haunt penal institutions, it is clear I was constantly beset with a barrage of tests that took many years for me to learn how to overcome. Today, when I take issue with anything or anyone in my environment, I utilize the grievance process established to remedy such issues. In other words, I exercise both patience with my emotions and respect for legally established remedial processes. Finally, technology has evolved exponentially since I've been incarcerated. I've watched the digital age come into existence over the past 20 years. It's just remarkable. When I was approached by a prisoner wanting to sell me a cell phone while I was at Lawrenceville Correctional Center, the mystique of how such a device operated motivated me to buy it. It was eventually discovered in my possession, and I was transferred to a higher security level prison. But it was because of that device that I met the love of my life, Sabrine. Funny how things turn out. I didn't do these activities just to show others I was a reformed man. I did these things because it's simply in my nature to do them today. These acts are just evidence of the man I've become, a man hoping to receive a second chance. I believe that acts that are even more demonstrable of my worthiness are acts that I cannot put into effect until I am, in fact, released. It is my strongest desire to be a proper father to my daughter, whom I haven't held outside the perimeters of a prison since she was no more than a month old. In fact, I desire to be pardoned to unite the elements of my family before they pass away, to become a well-known and reputable artist, to win over my daughter's love, and perfect a lifelong romantic relationship with my fiancée. Respectfully submitted, I am David Matthew McKinney. I'd like to talk a little bit about Mr. McKinney, who we believe has been incarcerated way too long. Mr. McKinney, currently incarcerated at Nottoway Correctional Center, entered Virginia's DOC as a juvenile sentenced to 92 years, 33 years of active prison time, for robbing other juveniles with his co-defendant friend, Adrian E. Davis, who desperately needed money and begged David to help him. The two used an unloaded BB gun. No victims were physically injured in any way. To date, Mr. McKinney has served over half his lengthy sentence. His co-defendant, Adrian E. Davis, who was sentenced similarly, was granted a conditional pardon by Governor McAuliffe in 2018, in part because of such excessive sentencing. Mr. McKinney has used his time incarcerated to better himself. First, he earned his GED, then a Paralegal legal assistant diploma, followed by a certificate of completion in business software applications. He is currently working at a collegiate level towards earning an Associate of Arts and Sciences degree in Administration of Justice. He plans to transfer credits he earns towards a bachelor's degree at a 4-year college once released. In prison, Mr. McKinney helps disabled prisoners by providing round-the-clock caretaking assistance. He was hired by River North Correctional Center in 2016 specifically for that purpose. He also helps inmates by assisting them with legal research and was carefully selected by Nottoway Correctional Center for that task. He says, "I take pride in being able to assist the DOC in its efforts to rehabilitate our offender population because I have seen firsthand how knowledge of the law can enlighten offenders regarding the far-reaching negative consequences of continuing criminal conduct." He has written books with the sole purpose of revealing his appreciation for life. He says, "I have slowly come to learn that honesty with others is how my character can best be judged, critiqued, and possibly adjusted to adapt to an ever-evolving sense of right and wrong." He began this endeavor by writing a pamphlet for fellow inmates in 2003 while housed at Sussex II State Prison. Mr. McKinney spent 6 years in isolation and used that time to deepen his understanding of civil and criminal law at both the state and federal levels. Once released, he plans to work with communities towards improving laws that allow juveniles to be treated as adults in our criminal justice system. Mr. McKinney's artwork was showcased in 2015 at the Corner Gallery, a well-established art gallery in Las Vegas's Art District. It was again showcased there in 2016, and he was headlined on their website as their main artist. He has ceaselessly honed his skills under Virginia DOC's Arts and Crafts program, and he currently has produced over 62 works, many taking hundreds of hours and many months to complete. He says, "I didn't involve myself in these activities just to demonstrate reformation. To further my collegiate studies, to help change laws, I desire to be pardoned so I may aid reunification of my family before they pass away, to showcase my art on a broader level, to reconnect with my beautiful daughter and perfect a relationship with my wonderful fiancée, whom I met in December of 2013. She tells me that had I not found her, the outcome of her life would be bleak. She says, I gave her freedom. I accept such a statement with humility, but in fact, it is she who has given me a true measure of freedom." And I'd like to read to you a letter to the governor supporting Mr. McKinney's chance for freedom. And it was written by his co-defendant, Adrian E. Davis, who was charged and convicted along the same lines as Mr. McKinney, but who was conditionally released in 2018. And he says, "Dear Honorable Governor, my name is Adrian Davis, and I have known David for over 20 years. I was with him when we were young and dumb at age 17, and I've seen him mature over the years as we paid for our crimes. I was pardoned in 2018 for the same crimes that he committed, so it is appropriate to me that he be given the same chance at life that I was given. He is a family man with a daughter that needs his presence in her life. He has served enough time and has grown as a man. He clearly deserves to be able to reconnect with his family as well as society in general. Thank you, Adrian E. Davis." Well, that's David McKinney's background and history and his request for clemency. If you believe that Mr. McKinney deserves clemency, share this CogCast with everyone you know. and even with someone you don't know. But spread the internet word everywhere, starting today. I'll see you next time. This is John A. Coggeshall. Everybody calls me Cog. This is my CogCast, and until we meet again, thumbs up and hang loose. Bye.